Look at this little cute one.
He's so sweet.
He is.
He's beautiful.
Welcome to the Bear Collective podcast, where we meet you at the edge of what you know and dance with you into the depths of what you don't. Into all things relationships, personal development, and lifestyle. We empower you to take what you need and leave what you don't. Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing. Now let's get into today's episode. And we're going to kind of continue on from our conversation last week around the fundamentals, but actually look at it from a different lens, a different perspective, and that is around energy.
Yeah, because it's important too, and I think it's often something that gets overlooked. Like, I think we can really overkill those other basics of, like, you know, nutrition and exercise and sleep, etc. But our energy and learning to preserve that and even model or mold, that would be a better word. I think we do but we bypass it.
Yeah. I think we
it.
also think of energy as something very woo-woo and mystical and like out there as well, from a very, especially in the personal development space, depending on how much work you've done, we can often miss this part of the fundamentals and the basics, and we kind of go into like manifesting and like making our hands around in the air and bringing in energy in this way, which is all a valid thing. And like, you know, imagining lights coming into your body and different colored like lights and crystals for healing energy and things like that. But I think this fundamentals, how simple it is and how effective it is and how much everybody can do this, might just blow your mind today.
Yeah, taking it back to basics, but they're really crucial.
Yeah, for sure. And when we were talking about this, I remember learning these 5 kind of basics when I was in school, and they were sight, sound, touch, smell.
What's the other one? I always get stumped, and I always say them in a different order. It's like my brain can't do more than 4. Smell, taste. Yeah, there we go. A very important one.
Yeah, how could I forget?
I know, she's always craving the chocolate, people.
Not always.
No, it's just on filming day.
Yeah, so but you were saying that you kind of didn't necessarily learn these. I remember going like into food tech in school and learning about like taste, for example, putting like they did have like salt and vinegar chips that we used to put on the tip of our tongue, the side of our tongue, the middle and the back, so that you could test like the sweet, the salty, the sour, and the umami flavor.
Yeah, I don't remember having a huge emphasis on this in my schooling. Obviously, I learned what they were, like the 5 senses, but I don't remember having specific lessons around it. I think in my memory, which might not be accurate, is that I would have learnt this more from books and just from life experience, you know, maybe having mum cook muffins and being like, oh, smell these, you know, the basic stuff. I was really into like gardening with mum when I was in primary school and like weeding the garden. So there were a lot of flowers that I would have been smelling. But, you know, then I think about it and there really wasn't so much around all of the senses. Like touch was a lot less emphasized, for example. So I've obviously picked it up at uni because it's one of the biggest like emotion regulation tools that we learn about is using our 5 senses to emotionally regulate and self-soothe.
Yeah, and so like taking the lens of these 5 senses and how they actually can drain your energy, but also give you energy. And really today we're going to go into like looking at like cleaning up, how to clean up your energy in these spaces so that you can have more energy, because that's something we're often faced with, or a question that we get asked is, I'm tired, my energy is drained, how can I clean it up?
Yeah.
And we're going to address that today.
Yeah, because we need to look at that, the level of sensory input that we've got.
And overload.
And overload, yeah, because our brain, like, it really only has capacity to take in so much at one time. And if we're overloading what we're trying to take in, of course we're feeling drained. Of course we're feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, tired.
So if we go into sight today, to start off with, I mean,
yes, it's the easiest one in my mind. I like it.
I think we could agree in today's current world with technology and devices, we are so sensory overload from a sight perspective in being bombarded with so much imagery, marketing, colors. Like, it's why you find when people go out into nature, or we often recommend you go out into nature to ground yourself, and you feel like a lot more clear because there's less of a sensory overload from like just even a visual color palette, right? There's less colors than opening up your phone and seeing like more than the colors of the rainbow.
yeah, which like we do know are there to overload us and to get us addicted to that sensory input. So I think it's so important to go outside in nature and be around more of those like neutral tones, as well as like I think to really consider what you're seeing, what is around you. Like I often think back to like certain schools, for example, there's a selective school in our local town that, you know, they would have stimulating like circles and colorful circles on the walls in the classrooms or in the hallways to keep people's minds active. So then when you flip that and you think about your home environment, which I think we all really want to be calm and soothing and safe and regulating, no wonder so many people have white walls. But then it's like, how many posters do you have on those walls? How many pictures? Do you have fairy lights? I know I've had so many like kids who have this obsession with having I don't know what they're called, but they're the colourful LED lighting around their wall that they keep on at nighttime. And it's like,
it's stimulating.
It's stimulating.
And it's not actually letting your eyes rest.
Yeah.
So if you imagine like you feel like at the end of the day, you start to feel really tired in your eyes. That tiredness is energy. That the reason you're feeling tired comes from that sight being drained, being overstimulated. So that's why we always recommend, and you guys will also know this feeling when you say like clean your room, right? And how good, once your room is clean, how much lighter do you feel? Right? You know where things are, you know where everything is, you can grab it, it's just clean, it's decluttered, everything has its place, and you feel lighter, you feel your energy go up and you feel more creative because you have that tiny space.
I often like on the flip side of that kind of say like a messy mind is reflected in a messy room, and you can really see the state of someone's mentality through the space that they inhabit. And so that also works in the opposite way, where yes, if you notice something on the floor and you just put it away in the moment, which you know so many of our mums would have said to us or dads would have said to us growing up. I know my dad threw out a pair of shoes that I left on the ground once, so I never did it again. But if we can do that in the moment and keep that space free of clutter and clean, it's going to give us more clarity. We're going to have more organized thoughts. It's a basic, it's not a guarantee, but it's something that helps.
Something that really also, more so in my 20s, I think, turned me onto this is the concept of minimalism. There's a really, and like we won't dive into it now, but for anybody who's just interested or curious on this topic, I'd really encourage you to watch a documentary. It's on Netflix. I believe you can also get it on YouTube, and it's called The Minimalists. And they talk to, it's about an hour long, but they talk to this kind of like overstimulationness for the marketing. So it can help you declutter your home, you know, from that perspective as well. And just have the really important things around you. Like I love books. I have a bookcase in my lounge room, and the bookcase, you know, the books are all different colors. And that is a healthy energy stimulation for me. The rest of my home in that space is quite neutral toned.
Yeah, I love that. I'm thinking now about my bookshelf and I'm like, I've got a different strategy at home versus work.
Yeah,
At work, I'm color coded
yeah,
to be clear,
yeah,
and then at home, they're everywhere.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, they're organized in size though.
Mine's
Very
grouped by, topics. I've done the color, I've been through like the color coded bookcase.
Yeah.
I think there's an Instagram called The Home Edit, obsessed. That's like home organization. These two ladies, amazing, so off topic, but they do things in color codes. I went through the whole color code. Now I'm very grouped into topics and like size. So the tallest book down to the smallest book.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So let's move on to sound.
Yeah. This one I find super interesting because it's not one that I really considered or became as conscious of as I am probably in the last 2 to 3 years. And I never really considered my hearing as an energy source or something that could drain me. So your hearing, like when you wake up in the morning, if you hear a really piercing noise in the morning, it sounds a lot louder than what it does if you were to hear it at the end of the day. Yes, it's still piercing, but you have, gone in the car, you've been in the streets, the hustle and bustle of like your workplace or being out in the street in the city, all those noises that you're used to being stimulated start to drain away your sound energy, your ear energy as you go throughout the day. Again, that's why when you get home and your partner might start nagging at you, this is one of the things where you become triggered and reactive because you're just like, I just can't listen to this right now. I just can't hear it. Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk, because your ears are actually so drained of energy.
Yeah, I can imagine like this does cause a few little moments with some couples. And I think I read something once, and I'm pretty sure it was in a very, well-known book called Atomic Habits, where he says, have a look at this like factor in your life. And if you are somebody who comes home and normally puts music on, try that without music. If you're someone who's normally driving in your car and you've always got something on, turn that off or listen to the Bed Collective podcast.
Yeah.
Nice and softly.
Sweet.
Sorry, had to. Experiment with, okay, what is the sound level that I have in my life? Because it is like a soundtrack to our lives.
Yeah, but is the only time that you are not listening to something when you're asleep?
Yeah.
Is that the only break that you're giving your ears and your sound to have that restorative space to regenerate and heal itself overnight and face the next day?
Yeah, so we have to play with it. And I think I love analyzing within myself what comes up when I'm in silence, because it's almost like, yes, it's almost like then parts of you can come up that needed to, that were really dulled out by all that loud noise, all that other energy. Yeah,
I think sound is again one that we can use as a form of distraction. So again, along with sight, which we just talked about, we're turning on Netflix, we're listening to the Instagram scroll, the TikTok scroll, the YouTube scroll, whatever you're doing. Again, you're stimulating your sight, you're stimulating your sound, you're draining your energy through those sources. That's why you don't necessarily have that conscious time or patience to have a connecting conversation with your partner, and it turns more into a tiff, a fight, a disagreement, a reaction, because your energy resources are just depleted there. Yeah. Or even if someone calls you and you're looking at that phone ringing and you're going, I can't do this. Yeah. This might be partly why. Yeah. Definitely. So another good one to look at to clean up. Yes. And I think I want to add here, go out in nature and just listen to nature for a bit if you get a chance. If there's like a moment in the morning where you're up before other people in the house, like just go outside and listen. I'm like a 4:35 a.m. waker up. Wow. It is the best time of the day. Yeah. Because like I honestly feel, and I highly recommend you guys try this, DM me if you are on the same page. But waking up early in the morning before the hustle and bustle, and I mean, I live in a city, but before the hustle and bustle, before the traffic comes, before everybody else wakes up, there is just such a nice, peaceful, calming energy. And before the rest of the household wakes up, that it's so productive.
Yeah.
It's so productive.
I
And
know.
so self-loving and so just healing and creative. And yeah, it's just all these nice, juicy, good things in that time.
I know a lot of mums who use that time. I'm sure there are lots of mums listening who, use that time to get their downtime.
Yeah. Speaking of mums, the next one is touch.
Yes.
And it reminds me of a gorgeous friend of mine. And I was having a conversation with her, and she has 4 children, and she's like, I just don't want to be touched. She's like, I just need my space to, to just not be touched for once, because, she's got a husband and like the 4 kids, and, she's still breastfeeding at present. So there's constantly somebody else like on her and touching her. So this can go kind of like either end of the spectrum, where, you might need to create kind of like boundaries around that so that you can get your fuel away from being touched. But then there's also self-touch, and using that as a healing modality. I don't think that many of us, and I really recommend this for the feminine, is to really slow down when you like have a shower, when you're washing your body, when you're putting moisturizer on, when you're brushing your hair. Really slow down and feel the sensations of that. And that comes into, again, goes much deeper, but it goes into like loving your body and loving yourself as a practice.
Well, I think meditating with your hands on your heart does produce oxytocin, like the love hormone. So we can literally produce self-love chemically, physically, emotionally through self-touch.
Yeah, and it's such a self-soothing technique. So imagine like when we love going beauty therapy and like getting a massage or a facial because we're being touched, right? And imagine when you're coming out of those, that massage or that facial, remember how you say to yourself, oh, that feels so good. I wish I could do this every week, because you're being like, again, it's resetting your energy through touch. So there's touch of like resetting your energy and calming that nervous system and loving on that nervous system. But then there's also like the parent that has 4 kids that's like, I just need space from being touched.
I'm overstimulated through touch right now. Yes. And that's about her knowing her limit and knowing her energy has been depleted through too much touch for her. Exactly. Great.
Sight, sound, touch, taste.
Let's do taste.
Get into the food of it all.
Oh, I mean, my brain just jumps to spicy foods because I'm not able to eat them. But when we think about the flavors, the taste that we're eating, you can know how that's going to drain you, because what's my body doing? If I don't like spice and can't handle spice, what's my body doing when I eat spice?
Is running, your eyes are watering, your face is going red.
It's producing, it's energy. Inflaming. It's heating or cooling. Like we can even think about the temperature of the food that we're eating, or the taste and how that affects our temperature, and then really look at, what foods are going to be energy resetting for me based on those tastes and how my body reacts to them.
Yeah, so we spoke last week about the fundamentals really of nutrition and hydration as being really, really important. And again, I'm sure everybody's heard this from their parents, of like, have you eaten? That's why hangry is around, right? People are hangry because they're starved. And again, when we have fuel, we have food, we have fuel. We fuel our energy, our body through food. And through water, drinking 2 liters of water, people. Hydrate.
Yes. And I think something I want to touch on here too is like taste as an energy source. We can actually get energy by taking ourselves back through taste to memories. Like think about grandma's cooking, right? Like if you can eat something that replicates that, or for me, like when I had my little brother at home and my mum would always have leftover lasagna. I mean, I can even taste that lasagna now, just thinking about it. So good. Wouldn't eat it now, being veggie, but I like every time I think about the taste or if I was to taste that lasagna, it would take me back to sitting watching Toy Story 2 with my little brother. And so to me, that creates energy because it's taking me back to this memory of like connection and family and love. So I think taste can really take us back as well and rebuild our energy in that way.
Yeah, and so it's not only giving us energy, it's not only like a source of fuel for our body. Again, when we look at it from an energy perspective as well, on the other side, if you're overeating, you get stuffed and then you sit on the couch and you feel tired because you've overeaten, you've gone past that. Everyone has that breath moment when they're eating, but it's like, food's so good and they keep going, right? They go past that breath. When you are stuffing yourself, when you know that you're emotionally eating, again, we're actually draining our energy source. In that space.
Because think about all the things your body has to do to then digest and process that food.
Energy to process that. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. All right.
Sight, sound, touch, taste,
smell. We're up to smell. And this apparently can be one of the most potent in terms of either helping us regulate and soothe or not. So smell's one of our like strongest senses that helps with regulating. Yeah,
we all know if you smell something bad, if you walk into a room or a place that smells bad, again, what happens? What's the physical reaction that happens to you? I'm not going to go kind of into the
please don't talk about it, no.
But you know, we all know that sensation where, and again, that's consuming energy. Again, also, even though we have fragrances and perfumes and things like that, we can be overstimulating our smell through wearing too much. So it's definitely finding the right balance with that as well. I know for me, I've got a diffuser at home that has like aromatherapy. Is that even a word?
I don't know today.
That has some like aromatherapy scent in it, and that I find when I have on, it's very soft, it's very subtle, but it gives me a lot of energy and it brings out a lot of creativity for me. But otherwise, my environment, I am very natural on deodorants and perfumes and all that kind of stuff. I'm very, very natural. Same with shampoos, conditioners. Just again, the smell sense can come through all the products that you're using on your body, not to mention like the foods that you're eating, the home environment that you're in, going to work, going to that cafe, going to that sporting event. Your nose is
it's on all the time.
Ignited. So how are you draining? How are you draining that where you could clean that up? So again, things like making sure you've got a clean fridge, because everyone knows that like when you open that fridge and it's pungent, again, you're smelling it, you're letting that smell fester. Keep it clean. Keep that nose.
And I think like having a calming scent in your home can be such a lovely addition. You know, I've even got one that I actually bought it after a holiday because I'd had it on holidays. It was in the Airbnb and it was so, that holiday, it was like 4 days. It was so relaxing. It was like just some downtime with me and hubby. And so I went and bought that same oil and now I put it on at home and it just soothes me.
And I think with smell as an overload, this is why we recommend going out into nature so strongly, because again, it's just very pure. The air is very pure there, as opposed to say being in the city or being in a tunnel as you drive
an air-conditioned shopping center. Any work office space tends to be really
all those type of
environments.
So nature really hits on the reducing all those senses and giving you that energy back. I really encourage you to just come into awareness of it next time that you're out in nature and you're in that environment, how you're using your senses and how that energy feels lighter and more free, more open. You notice that you become more creative, more contemplative when you're in that environment because you're not overstimulated.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, taking the 5 senses and looking at each of them, breaking them down, and really consciously think for yourself, how can you clean those up to be more healthy, you know, in your environment, in your life, so that you do have energy for the more important things in your life, or for the things that you're working on, the relationships that you're in. Yeah,
absolutely. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing.
Hit that follow button, and like, see you next week.
See you next time.
Bye.